First off, Happy New Year, and just really wanted to thank everybody for supporting the podcast through 2021. It was our not quite like our first full year, but really proud of all of the episodes and all of the engagements. Wanted to say thanks. And second off, quick thing before we hop into the episode, I have a few episodes that are like vault episodes that I've been holding on to, and I thought it was great to release them in the new year after we got the first 7 episodes. So they were recorded a bit ago, but I think they still hold up. I mean, gotten some new information since then, but we had some really good conversations. Some opinions may have changed, some opinions may have stayed the same, but this is what we thought at the time that we recorded it. So, hope you enjoyed this episode with Monda and I, and some episodes coming up. All right, take care. Welcome to Film Study, an all American podcast with Lexi and Lexi. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on YouTube, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of those things. In today's episode, Monda and I will be talking about the support that we see on All American and how it differs from the men and the women. Yeah, are you excited to get into it, Monda? Because we've been planning on doing this for a while.
A while. It's only
A while.
Recent events was like, let's do it. It's time.
Recent events. But let's start out. So Spencer has gone through quite a few things on this show. He's had some major moments where where he's just gone through a tough time. And let's talk through some of those moments. So I think the first one was right when he, well, really like moving to
Right.
Beverly. But let's skip that because we all know that he moved to Beverly. He had a hard time, so we'll give him that one and we'll let that go. So he's had quite a few challenges in the show. One of them being the shooting. So let's start with the shooting. What did you notice about the shooting? How the characters around him responded to this shooting, keeping in mind that he is the main character, so we see the story sort of through him.
Right. So seeing the story initially through him, he gets shot. Liv does the also dramatic scene that she's better than me because I don't know if I could pack that blood.
Oh, I already talked about the other day about
Yes.
how dramatic scenes are
Yes.
tough. They're tough.
Very tough. And so as they get into the hospital, right at that moment, it's just Liv and him, right? And the hospital are trying to rally around him. And it's immediately you get Billy coming because at that time Grace is away, um, and on a trip. And so you have Billy, you have Liv, and then you have Laura trying to make sure that they catch the person who committed the incident. You had then like literally everyone is at the hospital. So you have Laura, you have Asher, you have Liv, you have Layla who sees him comes into the room, you have Coop, do we even have JJ at one point? I believe we do. We have JJ, we have Jordan. The cast is there. Like
Yeah,
the cast of characters, everyone is there. You have
I forgot
Darnell.
about Jay.
Yep. You have JJ, you have Darnell. Um, you have practically everyone.
Yeah,
And mom and Dylan. Like
and then the
those
random like people from the community or whatever that were
yes.
outside the hospital at the end.
You had everyone rallying for Spencer's recovery. And which
That's crazy. I'm sorry. Hold on. Can we pause right there?
no, go ahead.
Because we're gonna get into this a little bit later. But keep in mind, right, that we just talked about everybody that showed up because of that shooting and who was there and all that we saw, and compare that to like what we saw for Coop. Like people showed up, but it wasn't the event,
Right.
right, that it was with
hmm
Spencer. But anyway, yeah, go ahead, continue.
So you had all of that. Now we always talk about how even Billy went that extra mile, right? He didn't even care if Liv was okay. He was like, he
Right.
checked on her a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna send you home. See you later. I'm going to sit there and be with my
Be there
Gracie
for my son.
and be there for my son Spencer. And we're going to rally around and we're going to show him the love and support that he needs. We're going
Right.
to be there for him. Which for
And
me,
as they should.
yeah, as they should. That's what I was saying. For someone who's experienced like family shootings and things of that nature, that's what you want. You want the people to rally around them. However, as we continue on this podcast, I just want some consistency. Like, just give me some consistency with characters on how you support them through their
Right.
trials and tribulations.
Right. Right. Well, and that leads us into the shooting was a pretty big deal, and so it's like, okay, okay, that's again, as they should. It's understandable that everybody was there and everybody supported. Like Layla was cleaning his room, right?
Mm-hmm.
uh Olivia didn't even want to leave the hospital. We know, we always know she's there for her man even before he was her man. um right, Billy is not leaving the hospital. Grace obviously is doing Grace like things. I don't know why I'm laughing at that. Laura again trying to catch the killer. Again, just people being there for him. Darnell coming at Tyrone, like just all of these things, right?
Yeah, because
Where people are
you have Flip also doing what he wanted needed to do in the
right.
community.
Oh,
So
we
you have
got
the
the
community
side
too.
characters
Yeah, you have
too.
side characters too. Like everyone doing something.
Preach went. Remember, Preach went to jail because he was finna retaliate for
Yes.
Coop. And so,
Hmm.
like, just the connections on connections, and all of these. And again, he's the main character. We see the show through his eyes, so this all makes sense, and this is all really, really good. Um, but even when you take other challenges that he has, right? When his dad died, and he watched his dad die, and he quit football for a little while there. We had countless people also coming and saying like, "Oh, you know what? You know that you're not, that you're not going to quit football forever."
Like we know you're coming back. They just kept rallying around him and supporting him.
Just rallying Darnell, his mom, I think even Asher at one point,
Yep,
right?
Asher, Dylan, Jordan.
So many people. Jordan helped him out, like after when he finally decided to come back with his shoulder, like all of that, Billy, whatever, is, as much as we all hate Billy too, looking out for Spencer, being like, well, want to make sure you're ready and when you're medically cleared and all of that stuff. um and that was after he got shot as well. And so we again just see this see this range of support, even up until sort of like the most recent thing, right? With was him sort of not deciding to not sign his commitment letter to Toledo State, which was the only offer he had at the time.
So can we talk about that for a second?
Of course.
So this intervention, thank you, Gracie and Liv, for putting this together. But when I say the neighborhood came for this man to tell
Right.
him to sign this paper, you had Patience, Dylan, Chris
Patients whose girlfriend was in the hospital.
in the hospital. Chris, you had
In a
Darnell
coma. In a coma.
in a coma. You had Darnell fly in.
And it wasn't only three. Can we go back to that for a second? Because I like said in a coma, and then I
Yes,
remembered. I'm like, this was only 3 days. Meanwhile, what, it had been a day or two, or like something, a good, like at least a day had passed, and Olivia wasn't trying to leave the hospital,
right.
right? And I don't. It's just a ton of people did not leave that hospital while Spencer is in the hospital. That's all I'll say.
But yet Coop's in a coma, and Patience, the love of her life, was like, "Let me go convince Spencer to sign his paper
And
instead of
again, like
being in the
rightfully
hospital."
so, right? Like they should care about this.
Right. But she's in a coma.
But yeah, Darnell's flying out, yeah, to support Spencer. Chris is there to support Spencer, as we said. Dylan coming back out of his, uh,
Back room.
his 3 show a season commitment.
They be doing my Dylan wrong. They be doing my Dylan wrong.
Why?
They be doing my Dylan wrong. Oh, but then I'm gonna go see Preacher's Daughter, but that's a whole nother situation. They be
It's a
doing my Dylan.
whole
Yes, whole
different
different thing.
podcast.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, like we see all of these people coming out, and again, like this is absolutely what I loved that they were there for him. I love that they had that intervention. It was what he needed to hear because and I've heard this too is like he didn't that's not really where his dream is UCLA. Well, it's UCLA didn't offer him a scholarship, at least not yet.
Right. And so therefore he needs to figure out what's best for him if he wants to go ahead and
Exactly.
play
And
football.
that's a sure thing. It's
Yeah.
not like he can't withdraw it at a later date, but why would you not take a sure thing as a safety net?
And and I always tell people this. I said, you don't know how hard it is for certain people to get an athletic scholarship. Even if
Exactly.
they're known, it
A
is
full
still
ride at
hard.
that?
It's less than 1% that gets an athletic scholarship to college. Less than 1% in the country.
Yeah. So yeah, and people agreed that Spencer was being hard headed. I think, of
Yes.
course, but yeah, just again to show how like ridiculous it all was is that again you don't give up give up a sure thing.
Very
Um,
much so.
yeah. So those are situations in which people showed up and showed out for Spencer. Um, Sort of going down this line, I actually want to jump to Asher next
Oh,
because
please do.
I think in terms of people who have helped him out, I feel like he's ahead.
Please.
Asher has gotten a lot of help. I think. Is it not true? Like from the very beginning, right? He, uh, Olivia, right, and
Right.
to I feel like equal extent because it was her house at the time. Layla helped
Hmm.
Asher.
Spencer
Um,
helped Asher with the car
Spencer
situation.
Spencer helped Asher before that with the car
Yep.
situation, right?
Hmm.
Um, Jordan helped Asher like with money, different things like covering him for meals and stuff before they all knew that he didn't have any money.
Asher came into the universe needing help, and he still
Right.
needs help.
This is very true.
It's sad
That
how
man
much
always
help
needs
this
help.
man needs.
Insane and gets, by the way. Um, right? Billy helping him out before the whole homelessness situation, whatever. This is what led to it is that Asher got drunk and um, Asher got drunk and he just got kicked off the football team. Like really didn't get a talking to. He didn't even get kicked off. He was just benched for the homecoming game.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, several times Billy uh between really not like disciplining him for that homecoming situation and obviously later on like covering for him as he's taking steroids. Uh he's gotten a lot of help.
Yes, because with the covering of steroids, you had him and Liv covering for him. You had Laura who knew about it. So, in essence, Laura was covering for him. The team eventually found out the truth, right? And
Yeah,
so they were all in support of him as Billy had stepped down. So people literally have been rallying from Asher from the very beginning. And as
yeah,
we know, moving forward, Asher's going to probably need help again, right? Because he has a heart problem. And of
right,
course, everyone's going to have to rally around poor Asher to make him feel like he's adequate. When
right.
actually he can just go somewhere. But that's okay. We gonna have to watch.
Vanessa helped him right over the summer.
See, I'm trying not
Realized
to
that
even
he
think
was
about her. I was trying.
but the point is that Azure has had probably in some way shape or form the majority of the characters on this show help him out.
Very much so. Very
I
much so.
remember there was that like crazy period last season where it was like still sort of awkward or whatever because the fallout of the cabin, not
Hmm.
Vegas, the fallout of the cabin. And um and they had Layla. who had to have a scene with Asher and who knows how long, like a solo scene with Asher.
Trying to get him to be okay to go see his new stepdaddy.
Like, just
What?
this man gets help, okay,
All the time.
all
All
the
the
time.
time. But yet he rarely helps others, which I
Yeah,
find odd.
yeah, yeah. And again, I love how supportive the characters on the show are to one another. Because I know, like, we as fans, follow me on this line of thinking.
I'm following you.
We as fans have like favorite characters and this and that, and people that we prefer over the other. But in the world of the show, they really care for each other.
They do. I just need them to stop calling each other best friends when they're not. You knew
It's
I was
true.
going to say it. You knew I was going
It's
to say
true.
it. Yes, they care for each other. Despite all the problems that they have with each other, they do care.
They do care. They do care. Yeah, in the world of the show. And so I appreciate that about them. I appreciate that they're there for one another. And another instance of being there for someone or them showing their support is when Jordan had his. Well, number one, let's go to when Jordan thought he was going to be a father.
I was about to say that. I was like, I want to go in that direction first. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, because again, we get he didn't really get in trouble at all. Again, he
No,
didn't
no.
and in trouble depending on how you look at it. Should he really get in trouble for that? I don't know, but
He
there
didn't
wasn't
even get a
no
talking to. He didn't get a
exactly. There was no
responsibility
like serious
conversation.
conversation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, Billy was like, "Oh, you about to be
Billy
a
gave him a
dad?
family heirloom.
Right. Let me give you an heirloom. Let that been live. Oh my gosh, it would have been World War III on that TV
Truly,
screen." So yeah,
truly.
yeah, he had so much help. So he had. So I'm not even gonna say Billy helped him because Billy did nothing. So he had Laura. He had Liv. He even had Liv like putting together the baby crib. That is how
Right.
much his sister was down for him and whatever was going to happen in this situation.
And
And then while he
and
chose to,
Spencer
yeah, he had Spencer. While he chose to avoid Simone at points, he had Liv telling him, "Boy, if you don't get it together,
running interference.
yes, like you have to be a man and man up. You decided to lay down with this girl. You go ahead and take care of your responsibility."
Exactly. Exactly. And as it turns out, he was not the father. Um, but he and Simone got closer. Eventually, got into a relationship, and eventually got married. But with his marriage and with his concussion, again, there was this show of support. First, starting out with a concussion, where obviously people were like concerned about him when he got the concussion, but then when he got ended up in the hospital
He,
because he cheated protocol.
when I tell you, I was sad that he ended up in the hospital, right? Because he cheated protocol. But when he after he got out the hospital and they decided to tell him to sit down, I was so happy because that little boy needed to sit down. But when he was at the hospital, you had his parents, Simone, you had Spencer, you had Liv, you had Grace there, and then Grace said like the football team was there even though we didn't see them. So everybody
Right.
was rallying around him. Even Liv had like Nurse Joy like taking care and making sure that they got the right information for him and the right support
Right,
for him.
which Nurse Joy was also very instrumental in helping Spencer with the shooting as well.
Yeah, very much so. And so then when he eventually like got out of the hospital, you had JJ, Asher, Spencer, Billy, Laura, Liv. I would say
Simone.
Simone, but remember she disappeared for a minute because she was
Right,
like,
right, right, right.
but we in essence we know she was there in spirit. So
Exactly,
you
exactly.
had all of
There was
these
also a
people.
cut scene with Layla, I think.
Yeah, there was a cut scene. I do remember you saying
I
that.
guess we
So,
won't count it since it did technically happen on our screens, but it happened.
but the thing is that everybody rallied around this young man who was a knucklehead in the first place because he the one who decided to cheat protocol. He's one decided to put himself in this danger. But that's okay though. That's okay. They all rally around him and try to make him feel better. And then that extension went on to Spencer helping him get back ready to play, right? That led
Right.
to this drama now. But you constantly had all of these people trying to support him and figure out ways. You even had Asher once, like he got approved working with Coach Montez to like figure out like
How he could
plays,
play the game, right?
like
In the
just
championship game.
yes.
Coming
So
up
you
with
have
new plays.
all of these people rallying around this boy, who is, by the way, the most selfish.
Is he the most selfish? I still put Asher
I'll put
in
Asher.
that
They
category.
run neck and neck there for me. Um,
I put Jordan under Asher.
yeah, you see, but you know how I feel about Jordan, so I put them
I know how you feel about Jordan.
neck and neck there as two of the most selfish individuals on this show. But
Yeah,
you know,
Coop and Asher take those
oh, Coop, yeah, I keep forgetting
take
Coop.
those crowns for me
Yeah,
for neck and neck.
Coop is like 1A, and they are one. So yeah, for me, yeah.
But yeah, so the point is, we saw like that show of support
Hmm.
for them. And actually, speaking, I'm glad we brought up Coop because, and we'll quickly touch on Billy. Billy also got support, just mainly from Liv, but also from Spencer, also from Grace.
Also
Also,
from Jordan,
did Jordan, yeah, later on in the season after he sort of came around,
and
did
even
Corey? I
Laura.
know there was like a there. I know that there was tension between he and Corey, but did Corey? Corey came to the bar one of them nights, right?
Yes, he did. He came to
Did
talk
he
to him
pick
at
him
the
up,
bar,
or
huh?
did he just talk to him? Did
But
he
he
pick
just
him up at
talked
the
to
bar?
him. He
Okay,
just
okay.
talked to
So
him.
we
Yeah.
won't count Corey,
But you also have
but
Laura, because Laura went off on those people when after Billy had quit,
yeah,
because she stood by
and the
that
whole the
knucklehead.
football team,
Yep, the whole football team.
stopping the little mob whatever that was
Yeah,
coming for him for
the
his job.
board's decision. Yep, everybody rallied around that man. Don't know
So
why.
and now we move to let's move to the women on the show. We talked about Coop a little bit, but we already know in comparison, like we got these flashbacks, and we know that JJ randomly was there, um, Chris was there, Patience, Olivia, Spencer, her dad, and Grace. But
Mhm.
what did you think about that? Let me start there.
What? Okay, here's the question I have. First of all, I was confused why JJ was there, but that's okay. That's a whole nother issue.
I too was confused.
Um, I appreciate the people being there for her. Like I said, I always wish there was more hospital scenes than we had, but I definitely like the idea of knowing that there's a community of support for Coop and
Hmm.
seeing how Coop have touched people's lives, even though she's a selfish little rugrat.
Facts.
I appreciate that there was people there for her and hoping that she recovers and that she comes out of it. And we find out she does come
I
out of
mean,
this
there
coma.
for her for maybe a day and a half until they
Yeah, she comes out of this coma,
went to
and
go help Spencer solve his problems.
that's true. And she comes out of this coma, and I almost was ready to strangle her because I thought that she really didn't have a memory, and she up here playing. I'm like, girl, don't do that.
Funny.
I was like, do not do that. I said that is not how you do that. But I wish though we had more time to see her in that coma state because I literally wanted the interaction with people and her being in a coma, but we didn't get that.
Right.
Because I wanted the more hysterics. I wanted to see
But
patients
okay,
cry.
but did we not get it because it wasn't there?
It wasn't there.
But I mean, like, even in the realm of the show, right? Like, they
Right.
were all there for this beginning thing. She
Mm-hmm.
went into a coma. Like, Patience was very upset about it. You know, Spencer and Olivia said, like, people were upset about it. But then we have Spencer having a conversation with his dad. Like, I don't know. I don't.
It was
Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's
no.
just me. But I'm like, I didn't get this sense of distress. Do you know what I mean?
I get what you're saying. It wasn't the distress, and I wanted more. I wanted more of that distress. I wanted the
People were
woman
more
to.
distressed about Spencer not signing a paper.
Yes, and that just confused the heck out of me. Now, I Spencer at his dad's gravesite is something I found beautiful. So I lost my father at a young age, and so I have had those moments when I've gone to speak at my dad's gravesite. So
Right,
I
right.
love seeing that
I love
representation on
seeing it too.
television.
I
But
love seeing it
but
too.
but the idea that we didn't get the distress that we needed to see around Coop, oh, I was mad. I was heated. I was like, what?
Right.
I was ready for it. I was ready to cry, shed some tears. I was ready for it all.
Yeah.
Didn't get it though.
And it like we had little moments like them like Liv coming up and them hugging at the hospital and different things like that, them sitting with patients. But what we missed, I feel like, and let's take it back to like when Spencer was in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
What we missed was those little moments of seeing sort of like what you said, like seeing how people acted like
Mm-hmm.
when they didn't know what to do. Like I'm specifically thinking about us seeing like Grace like flipping out, like us seeing Billy like lead Grace over there and like calm her down a little bit, like us seeing Layla clean the room because she didn't really know what to do and she didn't even know Spencer was awake, like
Us
those things,
seeing,
like
yeah,
us
us
seeing
seeing Liv
Olivia like
react.
clean the
Yeah.
blood out of her hand. You know what I mean? Like those
Right.
little small moments with people by themselves
Mm-hmm.
and like going through this thing.
And if anything, we deserved it between Coop and Patience and Coop and Spencer.
Right.
We deserve those moments.
Right. Um, but they just weren't there.
Yeah, they were there.
And and so like Coop got support, but it wasn't like this deep thing. Like we didn't even see people be excited that she was like, besides Spencer, and Patience was upset. Patience was mad. So like we didn't even get to see people excited that she got out of a coma. Like that's
We don't even know who knows she's out of the coma
it
except for Billy,
literally.
uh, Patience, and Spencer.
And Preach.
Yeah, yeah, we don't know who knows
More
she's
people
out.
showed up to find out she was in a coma than like people
We know
at
that
the
she's
end
out of one.
knowing
Yeah.
that she's out of one, which is insane. I don't know. It's crazy to me. Uh, but so that's an instance, and we know that people were there. Like Laura was there for her when everything was going on with Tyrone. Her parents a little bit there too. Obviously, Grace and Spencer and Dylan and all that stuff. And so again, we see Coop getting some support
Mm-hmm. Let's go on to the next one. Ooh,
because
this is where it turns on the women's support. From there, it
this
goes
is this
downhill.
it just goes downhill, and I know we have similar thoughts, I think, or you already know how I feel about it. I feel like they've gotten like the same amount of support. You feel like there's a little bit more of a discrepancy there, but I still feel
Yeah,
like they've
this
gotten the
is,
same
and
amount
we
of
about to
support.
see in season 4 how much of discrepancy, but that's okay. We gonna go. We gonna go.
I
Yeah,
still feel like there's no discrepancy, and that they both get paid dust for me.
yeah.
They both get paid dust.
And for y'all who we're talking about, and we're talking about Liv and Layla, so we're
Yeah, I
probably
was about to say, let's
y'all
not be
probably like,
throwing
who y'all
nonsense.
talking about? We're
Exactly.
talking about Liv and Layla and their support that is given to them. Uh,
Which is none.
which is
Which is
none
none.
in comparison
And
to the
let's
men.
and
Yeah.
let's talk about the most recent episode right now, which is actually why we ended up doing this podcast at this second, because I think it was another great example of them not getting the support they deserve. Right?
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna let
Layla
you
almost
start.
got pushed off of a cliff.
Can I just say something though? I'm
Go
mad at
ahead.
Layla for driving to the cliff. She was the driver. I was like, why are we driving there, sis?
Can
So
we not victim blame this
I'm
once?
not.
I'm
I'm not trying to victim blame. I'm
kidding. I'm
not.
kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding with
Yeah,
you. I'm
yeah.
kidding.
But I was like, why are we driving there? Why are we
No, I
listening to
know.
this
Listen,
girl?
she asked those questions too. She asked them too late, but she asked the questions.
I would have been like, sis, why I'm driving in the dark? in this direction. Like,
No,
help
I know,
me.
I know. And I was
Yeah.
just like, apparently it was a different cliff. I don't, it looked like the same cliff to me. Like, girl, you know where you at? What are you doing?
Where are you going? But
This is the same cliff you was at.
all that being said,
With all that being said,
yeah,
not to make light of a
not
very
not to
serious
make light of any of that.
issue.
Layla decided to follow this girl's instructions
Right.
and follow her outside the car. I wouldn't have done that either, Layla, but that's okay. We here. We here. Um and I understood Layla too not wanting her to do whatever she was thinking of doing.
Right.
And so
Right.
and her getting out of the car and trying to convince Carrie
Right.
to not do what she was planning on doing. And so she literally, as you said, pushed off the cliff, helped jump off a cliff. I'm still trying to figure that out, but I don't want to watch that episode again to figure it out. So I'm gonna just take his
um,
word for it on which
but
direction it was.
I think it was she gonna like be forced, right?
To
Like
be
forced
forced,
to
or was
jump,
it like a
right?
forced jump or something of
Yeah,
that nature? Okay.
forced to jump is
Yeah.
the direction it was headed, I think.
Okay.
But my point is like what we saw after that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and besides her dad, who like right should be there for her,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously like Olivia and Jordan.
Can we go back to the father for 2 seconds though?
Go back to the father.
I Let me tell y'all something. Everybody has an issue with JP2 and his connection to Layla and things of that nature. I would have
Mhm.
been just like him, all up in her business. Like, where you
As he
going?
should, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep,
He was doing the right thing this
I'm
episode for
taking
sure.
you. I'm following you. Where? Because you're my child, and something just happened. I'm about to annoy the heck out of you.
Yeah, yeah, he did the right thing for sure. I
Yeah.
think both of them were right. Like nobody was
Yes.
wrong in that
Yes.
situation. He was right to be overprotective,
Mm-hmm.
and she was right. It was hard, right? But she was right to say, "You are the environment I don't feel safe in."
Right. And she decided that she needed to go to an environment that made her feel safe.
Right.
Now, I was trying to negotiate another direction prior to the show starting.
Well, let's just get before we jump to like what her support ended up being.
Okay.
The ways in which she was alone
Mm-hmm.
for the majority of the episode.
Very much
Like
so.
the think about this fact that the only person besides her dad that acknowledged something happened with Layla was Jordan in the
And
entire episode besides Olivia at the end.
and I was so upset with that.
I was upset about that because
I
she
said,
almost and this happened 2 days ago maybe at this point because it was also at night. Who knows when she got back? I don't know. Like
because I put a
what?
tweet up like, did patients even ask about like? Remember, I put up a tweet like, did
Yeah,
patients
yeah,
ask about
yeah.
Lola and everything? Because I'm trying to figure this out. Like, this girl just went through trauma.
She just went through
Who?
trauma. She just found out that one of her good friends is in a coma as well. Like
Right.
as she's going through this trauma,
Mm-hmm. And I
and the the only person that we saw acknowledge that in the show besides her dad is Jordan because that's the only person that she shared a scene with again besides the end.
mm-hmm.
And it you already know how I felt about it. But I don't discourse on now we can jump to like the end. But discourse on Jordan giving her advice, which I think I have another episode coming that's about like Jordan and Layla and all of that. What's what
Right.
we might think and what we might not like about that pairing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they've always like given each other advice, at least in my not even in my opinion, objectively. They've always given each other advice in the majority of their limited scenes together.
It's not just your opinion, because remember I said they also did starting in the cotillion. I also have been
Right.
the person. Yes. Let me tell y'all something, people. Y'all know how I feel about. I'm gonna call her Lele because I'm not gonna call her the other nickname. Layla. And how I feel about Jordan. But here's the deal, though. I will tell you this: they have always given each other advice whenever they're connected to each other. whenever they're in
Right.
a scene together. So for him to give her advice in that moment, considering this is his childhood friend who he just found out had this traumatic situation, who he is there for at the time, and I'm saying therefore with an asterisk because he's
Right.
never like that for Liv, but that's a whole nother story. We're gonna come back to that.
Mhm.
But he
Not
was there.
never. He was there with
Oh, we're
the
not gonna start.
after.
We're not gonna start.
We'll bring it up when we get to
We're
live.
gonna bring it up till we get to there. Oh, we're gonna bring it up. But for me to have, for them to have scenes together and for her and him to engage, if she felt comfortable talking to him, I'm okay with it. What I
Yeah,
didn't
and
like,
him being the only person that she actually told what happened on
yes,
the cliff.
and from that lens, I'm very much comfortable with. What I didn't like was how limited her support was.
Right.
In comparison to what we just said that all these men have gotten when they've been in trauma. Now
And
it could
Spencer
be
going through like a very serious thing, yes, but less serious than almost being pushed off of a cliff.
right. Now it could be. Here's what I'm imagining down the line. It could be episode 2, 3, and 4 where there's more people rallying around her besides the Bakers and her dad. And we'll see that in the progression of the show as it moves forward. But I still wasn't here
But
for
still not being
yes,
pleased with the way
yes,
that people treated the immediacy of, again, like, just the immediacy at which we saw people be there for these other characters in the
right.
moment, and now we have to wait, a couple more episodes to see how the support is going to line itself out.
Hmm. Yeah, and how long it takes, and for someone like myself who's worked around and rallied around people with suicide ideation and things of that nature, knowing that that wraparound support needs to be there present as soon as possible.
Right. Exactly.
Like even if that person doesn't want to, like right now, Lele doesn't want to be around her dad, but he's there, right? He's like,
Right.
I'm gonna be here, just not in the presence in which I want to because it's not comfortable for you. But he's
Right.
still there in essence. And so for him, the Lord to connect, and Laura's like, it's not going to be forever. Because I also did a tweet like, yes, you can be at the baker's house because you need to be there, but that's also the very reason why you told your dad that you were uncomfortable in the situation that you are in. You still have to work with him eventually to get to a spot that will make you feel comfortable healing and
Right.
whole. So that's going to
Right.
eventually happen.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
yeah, but right now
Yeah,
she's
she's
in
not going to
present with that.
be right. She's not going to be at the Bakers forever. Um and again, I know she's not the most popular character or liked character or whatever that is,
That's
but
a nice way to say it, Lexi. That is so nice. I appreciate that.
well, um yeah, I don't it just because of the lack of support that we get for the women on this show. It like uh, and I enjoy discourse. I mean, I have a whole podcast about discourse, but this one, I don't know. It like bothered because I'm like, it's like, and we'll get to Olivia in a second, but again, it's just like the way that when the women ask for help and how not even like they're treated in the show, but like how audiences talk about it sometimes it just bothers me.
Right. I think some people, so I'm gonna play devil's advocate, right? I think some people are also thinking about this is a continuation from Layla's also depression storyline where she had the Bakers, Spencer, her dad, even Asher when they were together talking at the cotillion, all rallying around her in a
Wait,
support of her
Asher? Do you
recovery.
mean Jordan?
No, even Asher, because before the cotillion, they were all together at the hangout.
Oh, but
Remember?
Asher didn't ask her about her depression.
No, but some people like consider him being there. I
That's
mean,
no, no, no.
no.
The
Okay,
only
I'm just
people
trying to give some people some grace.
I
No,
am not giving them any credit for that.
I'm not giving that.
No, because and to speak about her depression storyline, a lot
Yeah,
of people think that she got support. I don't see it that way.
yeah,
I
because you
think
and I differ
she
on
got
that one.
support from Olivia
Yeah,
and
she got a lot of support
Spencer.
from it. Yes,
Spencer, right, going and checking on her. But as far as her entering once she entered rehab,
it was Liv.
it was Liv. Like we can a
Yeah,
dash of Spencer like going to pick her up, but Spencer wasn't there like that for
Yeah,
her.
it was lit. It
Like,
was
in fact,
lit.
I think the first time that they talked after the fact was it not Layla going to help like comfort Spencer because his dad died, right?
After that, it was that his dad passed away after
And
that.
she was helping him. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that was the case.
So yeah, this great big idea that just because there was an intervention, which by the way, it was an intervention with, um, and I'm not like downplaying it, but it was an intervention in which her Laura, the doctor, her dad, Liv, and Spencer were there. Spencer was on his phone.
He was on his phone, and that
Not
was
paying attention.
wrong.
I'm not saying like it was a bad, but I'm just saying
Yeah,
like everybody that was there wasn't even fully present in comparison
yeah,
to the intervention that we just saw
yeah.
with Spencer about his like signing
Yeah, and
somewhere.
a lot of it has a lot to do with Liv and Liv awareness of what Layla needed at that
Exactly.
time. Like
Exactly.
she told Spencer this is what happened at the house. She then, when Spencer said that Layla went off on someone at
Right.
Slaughter's, she was the
Right.
one like, let me go get my key, let me go get my stuff, let's get a key to her room. They were
Right.
the ones who called the dad. Like it
She
was
was
like,
having right. Spencer
yeah,
noticed signs, and I'm not going to take that away
yes,
from him. He absolutely noticed signs and
he did.
absolutely did things, but
It was Liv.
it was Liv. It
It
was
was Liv.
yeah. So that's Layla and what we've seen from her. Um,
You want to do Laura and end with Olivia?
um, I
Or
want
how?
to just like touch on Laura real quick. Laura
Okay.
went through an
Yeah.
affair and a divorce, and she was pretty much alone besides Olivia.
Yeah,
There,
she had to cry herself.
you're pretty much
Yeah.
alone besides Olivia.
She
Besides
yeah, she had to cry herself to
the
and get
client,
herself
right?
together.
Yeah.
Like Billy have everybody rallying around his little trifling behind, but that's a whole other
Stop.
issue.
I know. And so now we'll go to Olivia, and like I said, I think they're paid dust, but yeah, yeah, go ahead, Monda.
So we were introduced to Liv like sobriety issues in season one. And you had Jordan and her parents there when she overdosed, right? You had then she like literally called the parents out, like y'all all thought I've been okay since I got out of rehab,
And
and then
who
y'all kept thinking
encouraged her to have that conversation with her parents? I just
that
want
would
to
be
keep it a buck.
Layla.
I just want to
Layla.
keep it a buck.
Let's keep it a buck. It was Layla. And so you also had Spencer checking in on her, and seeing if she was good. But really, her parents was not paying attention. Jordan wasn't paying attention to her,
Right.
and until Jordan had say. Then she invited Jordan to come to her 1 year sobriety ceremony, and her parents wasn't even
Right.
showing up. She was
Right.
shocked when Billy and Laura was there, very shocked,
Right.
and cried into their shoulders and stuff and their arms when they showed up for that, because she was like, I'm used to doing this journey alone. That's what we gonna do.
Yeah.
This is how it is. And so then as the season progressed, she started to like wanting to take a drink because parents were getting divorced or splitting up and things of that nature. And she had
Right.
Asher, who was supporting her in that moment because she already saved his whole world and his whole life,
Right. Exactly.
including his father's life. Like she did it all. That's the least he could do. And then as we progress into season two, we have Liv trying to figure out, okay, how am I doing with my sobriety? Because then her family dynamics was changing again, and nothing was the same. Um,
Exactly.
and this was all because we had pinpointed, I think you did, identified the episode where she called her sponsor and first said, I need help because my family is changing. This was after it was Jordan and Simone situation and
Right.
everything. And she was like, I need help. And so she eventually drinks and consumes alcohol and
And
uh
this is after, by the way, I
yeah,
just want to add these
yeah,
little points again. Her and Layla have had some conversations about therapy. It's
hmm,
connected to the shooting as well.
yeah,
And like Asher, so her and Layla have had some of these conversations. Spencer, you know, checked in on her in the 16, right? Like,
hmm,
uh, are you okay? Have you talked to your sponsor? And obviously he came back after she took the drink.
right. And then we come to find out she drank all summer,
Right.
throughout the summer. And then
Around Spencer, around Jordan,
around,
around
I'm
Simone.
still trying to figure out how that happened. and how nobody smelt anything. But that's a whole nother
Yeah,
thing.
that's a whole
Uh,
nother thing.
and so then we we saw her sobriety sister
Hmm.
in five. We met her. I wish she comes back. I do, because she was real. She was so real.
Now I'm just scared for any sort of sister now that we've had Carrie.
I get it. And so then we move forward into eight, going into nine. And so with that, you have like Spencer finding out the family knows.
I'm
Um,
not even. I'm not even gonna touch on 9 because people already know I'm gonna go off
yes,
on 9.
go
So
off on it. Yes, the family knows. Simone knows. That's a whole nother story. And then you also have you have us being introduced to Nurse Joy.
mhm.
And we had this idea that Liv was about to have this rally around support of people for her. In essence, the people that helped her during her like this stint has been Laura. I'm not counting Billy because he's done Jack on my
Yeah,
screen.
I don't count Billy.
I'm gonna give it to Layla because she gave her Wonder Woman opinion back and said how strong she was. Because if
And
I didn't,
not only that,
she did the podcast.
she did the podcast for spent the day with her
Yes, even if I didn't, she was
in
gonna
the
give.
midst of the awkwardness.
Yes, audience. If I didn't give Lele the credit, Lexi was going, so I had to
I
do
was going to.
it. So then you also have you have Lele, then you have Nurse Joy, and you have not Spencer. You have Jordan and his secrets mystery
It's
meetings that
just
we
yeah, like what? He's not even going to the family meetings.
right. Like we don't know what you're talking about, Jordan, because you just pulled that out of your behind. But we
He
also
pulled it out of
realized,
his behind at like the very last episode, like the episode before last.
yes, this is, and mind you, they went to a college campus, consumed alcohol around her while she was in recovery as if nothing happened.
And again, I no, because now I am gonna go off at this second because again, for some this is what I hear some of the time is that they
Mhm.
don't need to stop drinking because of Olivia, and that Olivia needs to learn how to deal with it on her own, and that's all well and good, and I agree with that. But how are we having Spencer say we're not drinking tonight at the cabin before
Correct.
they even knew about her relapse?
Correct.
And all of a sudden, just because they at an HBCU, oh, it's fine to be drinking out of a trash can now around Live? What?
Doesn't make sense at all. Does not make sense. The
Hmm.
the support around Liv and her sobriety and Liv's sobriety storyline in general is straight trash. I'm gonna keep it real. Straight trash. No one in their world, in their mindset, could be like, that was an amazing way on how they handled the sobriety storyline. I no. The only thing I would say is if this is your journey, nine help tell your story to the world.
Right.
Yep, season three, episode nine helped tell the story to the world. Yes, I'm going to give you that honor.
Episode 9 was amazing, by the way. I
Yes,
just
it
have a
was.
problem with the last 5 minutes.
But it was amazing and it helped tell people's stories. So for that, yes. But other than that, it was straight trash. Complete and utter trash. And now the sobriety storyline is being brought back up this season in reference to her relationship with Spencer. Hello, excuse me, no what? I
Oh,
needed
and Spencer. Talk about Jordan and his secret meeting.
oh, Spencer and
Spencer and saying your sobriety comes first. Where, sir? Because this is the first time you've mentioned it since kicking me out of your house.
facts, straight facts in this, straight facts in this.
I,
And,
I,
and if
I'm
any,
sorry, Carmen. I had to add that in. You already know
we
how I
had
feel about
to.
it.
And audience, if any of you refute what we have to say, you better bring receipts and not what you think happened off screen, what happened on screen, or anything in relationship to what happened on screen. That is facts. That it came out of nowhere, completely out of nowhere.
Completely.
I particularly, here's the deal. I either want they're not going to do this though. I want the writers to actually be able to tackle this sobriety storyline this season or let it go.
Yeah,
Tackle it right or let it go.
I
Because
agree. I just don't want everything to be connected to her relationship with Spencer. I'd like to explore Olivia on her own, in addition
right.
to her relationship with
And
Spencer.
that storyline could have been her own for a minute and trying to just figure out
Exactly.
who she is. In
Exactly.
essence, of thinking about this. So as we recap what we've said, and if you have not caught on to it right now, if you are a male on this show, particularly if you are Spencer, Asher, Jordan, even Billy, you're gonna get 20 million people trying to support you with your issue. But if you are the women on the show, and I'm going to go towards to Liv, Layla, and Laura because Coop has had a lot of help
Yeah.
for as selfish as she is.
Right.
Um, you to think that there's going to be people rallying around you, yeah, that's not going to happen. So even though I am not a fan of Layla and my fictional baby sister being friends, if they are going to be each other's support because everybody else paying them dust, I'm here for it for the moment that each of them needs support. I'm here for whatever that could be.
Just for when they need support, no other
Just
time.
when they need support, and the other time they can back away. Like
Yeah, I know.
I'm
You're
not here
like,
for that.
go ahead, Lele. Go ahead.
Go ahead, do
Go
what
ahead
you need to
on.
do. Yep, go ahead on. Because I will say this. While I was not a fan of episode season 4, episode 1 for a lot of reasons, that
Mhm.
pillow fort that
So
Liv
adorable. It
and
was so adorable.
it was so adorable that Liv because I'm not giving Jordan credit for nothing.
You
That
know
Liv,
Jordan did it. You know
no,
Jordan helped.
he
You
put a pillow down.
talked about Jordan helped.
Jordan put a pillow down. He put a pillow down.
I'm
Oh,
convinced that Jordan helped.
but that pillow fort was everything to me. That was beautiful. That was completely beautiful. And to
And
and
that's what
to
I want to see, right? Like that's what we want to see for the women on this show, right? Is people
mm-hmm,
going out of their way to help them, just like they go out of the way to help the men. And what we're saying is, it's not a bad thing that the men get this support. We just
not
want
at
to
all.
see it for the women and not like have them be cared for. Like again, the fact that a lot of people didn't help Olivia when she was recovering for the second
Mm-hmm,
time. And the fact that at least initially, right, it seems like people were paying Layla dust
right.
a day after she almost got pushed off a cliff. Like, it's just crazy.
It also makes me wonder, while people are in the writing room, what do you set priorities to, and whom do you set priorities to, in
Right.
their whole holistic self, fictional character self, right,
Mm-hmm.
and not just small parts of them,
Yeah. And not just the parts that are attached to the relationship.
right? I really do. I envision this. Here's what I want. Let me just tell you. I want the equalness of help and support. I also want to see the wholeness, possibly some type of wholeness for my fictional baby sister and Lele, because I need Lele to move out of the house. No offense, no people, but I need her to also find her own self, right? Because she can't be in the Baker's house forever, and what that journey is going to look like as they move on, because they're all about to graduate. They got like one semester left, not even
Exactly.
that, couple of months,
Right.
and they're deuces, they're out. And so, what does that growth and development looks like?
Yeah. Yeah. Mama and I want to see similar things.
Yeah.
Similar things. And
We
that
just
is
want the
equal
women to
support.
be uplifted like the men are. That's
Yeah.
literally what we want.
Facts.
Very
Facts.
much so.
Um, so, thanks again, my guest host. Mon.
If there's some
Uh,
topics you want Lexi to talk about, even without me, because I don't have to be on anything, you do tell them where they can submit some ideas to.
yeah, I'll
Lexi.
drop the form in the description box, so
Yeah.
you'll see it. All right, people, it's been fun. Thanks for listening.
Bye.